Ask anybody, talk to anyone who has never watched the beautiful game, who has never watched football, was only ever heard about Arsenal in passing, or was heard about Arsenal with their mates or their families or friends. The one thing Arsenal are synonymous with is beautiful football, right? And the fact that for over 20 years we were coached by a manager, Monsieur Wenger, whose overriding joy for football is to play beautiful, is to pass in between the lines, is to get this diminutive players, the sex Fabregas of this world, the Santi Cazzolas, Rosiskis, even the lanky players like Diabis. They are so adept on the ball, so skillful, can dribble, can turn on the six packs. That is what Arsenal are known for. We're going through the most successful period of Arsenal under Arsene Wenger was an amalgamation of attacking ability or diminutive players or even tall players who are diminutive, not to use that word, tall players who have the ability to maneuver the ball. Right, your Dennis Beckham, Thierry Henry, Robert Pires, Patrick Vieira, who is known for his physical ability, his athleticism, is a player who is damn good on the ball. And defensive resoluteness, right? You don't go unbeaten for a whole season for 49 games without losing a game. You don't go unbeaten for 38 Premier League games. This is a feat that hasn't been done ever since. Without having some bite, without having some physical resoluteness, without having some mental fortitude. But this whole point or this whole rhetoric is not to digress from the conversation I'm trying to have today. The conversation I'm trying to have, or the conversation I'm putting right on the table, is I think Mikel Arteta is more of a defensive coach than an attacking coach. The reason I say this is I think some of Mr. Wenger's success, his early success at Arsenal, owes much to the fact that he inherited a defensively good team, right? The team Arsene Wenger inherited was defensively good. What did he do? He coached the attacking phase. I honestly don't believe Arsene Wenger was ever a good defensive coach, right? If you listen to interviews of most of his interviews of former players, they all say Arsene Wenger doesn't want to talk about adjusting to the opposition, right? His main focus is we know we are good enough, we just go out there to play. And typically, there is nothing to coach for attacking players, just buying the right players and finding the balance. They're going to do what they have to do. But all my time of watching football, you have to really coach defensively. You have to build foundations, get the right players defensively. That is the foundation for building attacking teams or for building a title winning team, right? A Champions League winning team. There's a reason, whether we like it or not, if we look at the data objectively, why Arsenal and Arsene Wenger were never able to win the Champions League. You could say over the last 20, 30 years, teams of lesser offensive capabilities have won the Champions League. The two times Chelsea won the Champions League, winning those Champions League was built on their defense, right? Their ability to stop the opposition was more important than their ability to cause the opposition troubles. Now, we've spent the last 5 minutes giving a brief overview of the subject in question, Mikel Arteta, the meat. There is an idea that Arsenal are an offensive team. We were last season, but you can see Arteta has always had, I don't know, this angst, this feeling that he wants to favor buying more defensive players than offensive players. There could be a plethora of reasons why we've gotten to this junction, right? It could be that when he came in, he saw that defensively Arsenal has been lacking over a long period of time. And in order to arrest this issue, it would need to what? To invest a lot into buying defensive players. Off the top of my head, I can count the number of defensive players we've bought. The Pablo Maris of this world, the Benjamin White, £50 million. Yeah, he spent £50 million on a player, an hybrid player, because we all know White coming into Arsenal. The conversation was we could play defensive midfield, centre back, right centre back, left centre back, and right back. Right? So Mikel felt that £50 million it's worth the money to invest in a then 22 or 23-year-old footballer who still has a lot to grow into. I remember his debut against Brentford was atrocious, but we had a lot of injuries then. But the point I'm making is he invested £50 million on Benjamin White, right? Signed Pablo Mari, signed Tavares. Tierney was before Arteta, so I'm not going to count Tierney. Signed Cedric, who has been an incredible flop at Arsenal. Recall Saliba from loan. I think Mikel signed Gabriel, signed Aaron Ramsdale, David Raya, Kiwior. There's been an emphasis on getting defensive players into the team. Even looking at the attacking players that he has signed, there is an idea towards attacking players who understand their defensive responsibilities, right? Think about the way he's coached Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. These two players understand that they have to defend. Compare this to other teams, other big teams like Manchester United, right? Where their wingers don't want to defend, they want to put in the physical labor that actually involves in the winning team. Talk about Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is a dream player when it comes to the defensive side of play. He's going to track back when he needs to. He's going to press the opposition. The same thing with Kai Havertz, right? The much maligned Kai Havertz is a defensive master in the attacking phase. His ability is to press, to cover midfield when he sees holes open up. Those are the things that you can't really coach. Martin Odegaard, he presses like an animal. This is one of the best attacking midfielders in the game, but he wants to pitch in defensively. Everything Mikel does is to make Arsenal more resolute in the defensive side, right? Then you can progress to the attacking phase. It's just the understanding of how he thinks. It's just something that amazes me, right? It amazes me in the sense that the best teams are defensively good. Arsenal scored what 80, 85, 87 goals last season, but we considered a lot of goals, about 50 goals. This season is trying to arrest it. I think Mikel went with the flow last season. I don't think what we saw last season is the best of Mikel Arteta. I don't think if you sat Mikel down and ask him, is this the best we can give? Is this the best that you want to see about last season? He would have said, no, I would sacrifice scoring 5 to 10 goals to concede less goals, right? This season, Arsenal and Liverpool have both considered 10 Premier League goals. But I've watched majority of Liverpool games this season, and I've watched every single one of Arsenal's games this season. And I've watched every single one of Manchester City's Premier League games this season. By far, Arsenal has made the best defensive team amongst those three teams. You consider 2 goals to defensive errors. I think Saka and somebody else. Saka against Fulham, and I think the goalkeeper. But every other game, it's very, very, very difficult to score against us. It's almost impossible. We control the game, we progress gradually. Teams are going to sit, what, 10, 20, 30 feet deep into their defense anyway against us. We've earned the respect. The teams gives us the respect. They sit back and they want to play on the counter. What is the whole point of trying to rush and make errors and give them a head start? Which is what we did the last 15 games of last season. So Mikel Arteta has decided to go another way, right? Work more on the balance of the team and gradually breaking the opposition teams, grinding them to a halt, right? Building progressively, building in blocks. Okay, we pick up the ball, Raya sprays, we control, control, control. We move to the midfield, we move gradually, not with the speed, the lightning speed of last season, the quickness of last season. Some people say, oh, maybe it's because of Kai Havertz. I don't think so. I think we have evolved into something else. We have evolved into the image of what the manager wants us to do. I just don't think it's because of one player or because, okay, we're fine. We haven't had our best offensive players fit this season. But even when they come back, I believe that this is the new style. This is what we need to get used to. And this almost concludes my idea about Mikel from the very first time he joined Arsenal, that his style of play is more about being defensively resolute and every other thing is going to take care of itself. I would like to hear what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the content, and goodbye. Stay blessed.